Oh my god! What are we gonna do? Our entire website is gone. Gone? Yeah, gone. Well, what happened? I don't know. Can you use a backup? We don't have backups? Oh, crap! What's up, everyone, and welcome. In this episode, we're going to talk about a homicidal WordPress plugin that can wipe your entire website's content. As usual, we'll walk through the story, see what we can learn, and what we can apply to our own security plans, policies, and processes.
Oh, drat these computers. They're so naughty and so complex. I could pinch them.
Researchers have discovered a homicidal WordPress plugin that allows subscribers to wipe sites clean of content. The high-severity security flaw is found in Hashthemes Demo Importer, a plugin that's used in more than 8,000 active installations. According to security researchers at Wordfence, the vulnerability allows any authenticated user to completely wipe a vulnerable site, permanently deleting nearly all database content as well as all uploaded media. The Hashthemes Demo Importer plugin is designed to let admins easily import demos for WordPress themes with a single click, without having to deal with dependencies such as XML files, .json theme options, .det customizer files, or .wie widget files. In a Tuesday write-up, Wordfence's Gall said that the Wordfence Threat Intelligence team initiated the disclosure process for the bug on August 25th. For nearly a month, the developer failed to respond, so Wordfence got in touch with the WordPress plugin team on September 20th. On the same day, the WordPress crew temporarily removed the Hashthemes Demo Importer from the repository, and a patched version was made available a few days later, on September 24th, although the plugin's changelog makes no mention of it. Wordfence's Gall explained that the Hashthemes Demo Importer plugin hadn't performed capability checks for many of its AJAX actions. AJAX is a JavaScript-based technology that allows a web page to fetch new information and present itself without refreshing the page. While it did perform a nonce check, the AJAX nonce was visible in the admin dashboard for all users, including low-privileged users such as subscribers, according to the Wordfence write-up. The most severe consequence of this was that a subscriber-level user could reset all of the content on a given site. Specifically, any logged-in user could trigger the HDI_install_demo AJAX function and provide a reset parameter set to true, Gall wrote, resulting in the plugin running its database reset function.
I wonder how my Wobot is making out.
Does this answer your question? You know, someday these scientists are going to invent something that will outsmart a rabbit.
This function wiped the database by truncating every database table on the site except WP options, WP users, and WP user meta, Gall continued. Once the database was wiped, the plugin would then run its clear uploads function, which deleted every file and folder in the WP content uploads folder. Gall said that the vulnerability should remind us of the importance of backups for a site's security. While most vulnerabilities can have destructive effects, it would be impossible to recover a site where this vulnerability was exploited unless it had been backed up. Given that the vulnerability can lead to complete site takeover, he asked that if you know of somebody using this plugin on their site, please do give them a heads up. Rick Holland, CISO and Vice President of Strategy at risk protection vendor Digital Shadows, noted that the plugin vulnerability highlights the increased attack surface that third-party code ushers in, as do browser extensions. That's up to software vendors to deal with. Software companies are responsible for their code and the code that runs on top of their code, Holland told ThreatPost via email. You hear that, WordPress? Jake Williams, co-founder and CTO at incident response firm BreachQuest, said that the incident highlights the complexity of vulnerability management. Not only do organizations need to know the content management systems they're running, but also the plugins that are running on those systems too, he told ThreatPost on Wednesday. This is yet another example of supply chain security where the WordPress system was trustworthy, but the plugin, which the security team probably doesn't even know was installed, left them vulnerable. Williams also noted that this kind of flaw attracts jerks, as opposed to financially motivated attackers. I don't think the majority of threat actors are interested in wiping databases and content in WordPress sites, he told ThreatPost on Wednesday. It's counter to the goals of most threat actors. That said, I do expect that some people will go and target these systems for fun, so it's a serious risk. Now, I don't agree with that comment, because if you're a competitor and I'm just a nasty guy, I could wipe your site clean. And then what? I'm the only one left on the market. So, again, that comment is kind of short-sighted, I think. Holland concurred, destructive threat actors, hacktivists, or actors deleting sites for the lulz would be most interested in this sort of vulnerability. Again, I point back to my comment a couple seconds ago. There's espionage out there. People want to find secrets from companies. So there's also, buying companies that are your competitors to drown out the market. And this is one way to just destroy your competitors if they happen to have this plugin and it's installed and it's vulnerable, yada yada yada. But just to say that it's for lulz is kind of ridiculous. Anyway, it wouldn't be tough to take advantage of such a flaw either, Holland added. Exploiting this vulnerability does require authentication, but given password use and account takeovers, that bar isn't as high as it should be. Or, if there's a subscription process, I can register, log in, and I have access. And the way that WordPress plugins are installed, I could scan a WordPress site to see if they even have this module before I take over.
Hey, cut it out! Cut it out, pigeon! Don't do that! This witty pitty went to market. This witty pitty ate home. This witty pitty had roast beef. Well, what do you know? I ran out of pitties.
So how can we increase security? Leo Pate, managing consultant at application security company Novisium, noted that WordPress is just like any software. Namely, it's made by fallible humans. Its developers and those that make WordPress components, such as plugins and templates, are bound to make mistakes, he said in an email to Threatpost on Wednesday. He sent over the following cheat sheet on how to look holistically at a WordPress environment and how to incorporate security into all of its components, server, network, and app layers. His advice includes not running the WordPress services as administrative users, ensure that all programs installed on the server, as well as the server itself, remain up to date with the latest patches. The server only allows connections over TLS version 1.2 and TLS version 1.3. The ciphers used for those connections should provide perfect forward secrecy, and the domain should participate in certificate transparency. Default user credentials should be changed on the WordPress instance, as well as the database credentials, if not done during the initial setup. Any plugins or templates used within WordPress should be from reputable sources and be kept up to date. Within the WordPress plugin portal, users can see information that includes when the plugin was last updated, review or comments about the plugin from users, how many times it has been installed. These are things that I said you could check on individual plugins or modules, again, depending on which CMS you use, but that also does not necessarily solve the issue. So what can we learn? Besides not using WordPress at all, we have to remember that WordPress was originally built to be a blogging website and not anything related to, let's say, e-commerce or other enterprise systems that require specific separation of privileges. Over time, people found ways to bend WordPress to allow it to do some really cool things, but there's still some underlying vulnerabilities in the WordPress model. Now, don't get upset with me, just listen. First and foremost, the direct communication ability with plugins leaves each plugin as a separate attack vector. So I can talk directly to the individual PHP scripts of this plugin, bypassing WordPress's core altogether, instead of everything being directed through, let's say, index.php and having htaccess files to lock direct access to any particular PHP file. With WordPress, I can call any plugin based on its location, and I can interact directly with those PHP files. So if there's a vulnerability in one specific file, I can take advantage of that. Additionally, WordPress does not have a robust internal security validation mechanism for plugins. A number of content management systems out there, for example Drupal, will take over validation of really popular modules. They will then be responsible for checking for security in that module, and you'll see like a green bar that says, this is covered under the CMS's security, blah, blah, blah. So they're responsible for doing the security checks, or they take over management of the security checks. They might even take over management of the entire module, depending on how popular it is. So this means that for WordPress, it puts them through the ringer to make sure there are no vulnerabilities with the modules and will either force the developers, or if they take over maintenance of the module, fix the issues themselves. So we as the community need to push WordPress to take this type of model on, where they have mechanisms in place when a module is uploaded and made available through their plugins. They are actually responsible for this, because they are saying it's coming from them directly. It's not coming from some third party on some third party website. This is directly through WordPress, that hey, here's a new plugin that you can use on your WordPress site. They are essentially vouching for that plugin. So they have a level of responsibility to ensure that their users who trust them a lot for their website, for their subscriber list, for their e-commerce platform, whatever, WordPress has a responsibility to manage at least some of the security mechanisms related to validating that plugin and making sure it's not malicious. Now, lastly, for this episode, as we noted in the article and repeated, what feels like hundreds of thousands of times by yours truly, back up, make backups of your backup and stick it in your freezer or whatever you need to do. At the absolute bare minimum, your disaster recovery plan should have integrated a once per day backup. That is the absolute minimum. Even that is it's too little. You should really have incremental backups regularly, hourly, or even more often, depending on things like your system's traffic, how often new content or transactions are performed, etc., etc., etc. So with that, I say thanks for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the bell if you haven't already. And I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.